All right, so Veronica and David, you've asked me a couple of questions, so I'm just going to post them here so you can see how to do them. This is on page 23 of our book. Number 2, Kim owns a third of the company, Mike owns a fifth of the company, and Lynn owns 1/10 of the company. Peter owns the rest. If the company is valued at $385,000, what is the value of Peter's stake to the nearest dollar? So again, when I need the question, we know the value of Peter's stake, and then we want to state our path. So 1/3 is Kim's portion, another 1/5 is Mike's portion, and then another 1/10 is Lynn's portion. Okay, we know the company is valued at $385,000. Okay, and we know that Peter owns the remainder of the company or the rest. So we'll just put R for the remainder for Peter's value. This is so important to ID the question and stage right. Get those facts out. Don't try to jump into the problem because it won't work. So now that we know, we want to know the value of Peter's stake. We know the fraction that the other owns. We know that Peter owns the rest, and we know the company is $385,000. So now what it allows us to do is to take 1/3 plus 1/5 plus 1/10. The LCD there is going to be 30. 10 goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 1 is 6. 3 goes into 30 10 times. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 plus 6 is 16. Plus 3 is 19/30. So 19/30 of the company is owned by these three. Okay? And so if you got to think about the company is the whole number one. The ownership is just the whole number one. So if you take that whole number one and you subtract 19/30 from it, okay? And this is an important concept with fractions because this is a piece. The fraction is a piece of the whole. So 1 minus 19/30, you're going to convert that 1 to a fraction and express it in terms of the denominator. 30/30, because 30 divided by 30 after all is 1, so it's the same thing as 1. So it just makes it 30 minus 19 equals 11 all over 30. So now we know the remainder, because 19/30 is owned by those folks, and 11/30 is owned by Peter. Okay? And so we want to know, again, the question is not saying what fraction of the company that Peter owns, it's saying what's the value of his stake. So we're going to take that 11/30 and multiply it by 385,000, and just going to put that over 1. Okay? Now, just a quick opportunity to use our handy dandy GED calculator here. 11, and you see that key there, the ABC key that gives you the fraction bar. 30, 11/30. Okay, so we have the fraction of 11/30, Peter's fractional stake. We have to multiply that by 385,000. You hit your equal key, and you see the value of Peter's stake is 141,166 and 2/3, so we're just going to round it up to 141,167. That is the value of Peter's stake. So again, you gotta follow this two-step process. You gotta identify the question. You gotta state your path, and you gotta do this each time. Because if you don't do it, you're gonna get stuck in a rut every time. Okay, so don't jump into the problem and because remember, with ID, the question and stating your path is not about you getting the answer right. It's about you knowing what the question is about before you even attempt to get the answer right. And so a lot of times when you get stuck, what's happening is you haven't done this two-step process, and that's why we do it. Number 3, you had a question there. Eric had a 23-foot long 2x4 piece of lumber. he let Sandy cut 11 1/8, and Victor cut 6 3/5 from his piece. How much did he have left? Okay, that's again, what's the question? How much left? You always got to start with this. Then you got to state the facts. So Eric's 2x4 was 23 feet. Okay, that's Eric's piece, his piece. And then he gave Sandy 11 1/8. Gave Sandy that much. So he gave, so that's taken away. Okay? And then he gave Victor 6 3/5. That's Victor's piece. He gave, so that's taken away. So the question is how much he had left. Well, if you want to know how much he had left, if he started with 23 and he gave away 11 1/8, and if he gave away 6 3/5, obviously you got to add 11 1/8 and 6 3/5. Okay, LCD there is 40. 5 goes into 40, 8 times 3 is 24. 8 goes into 45 times 5 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 24 is 29 over 40. And I think you got this far, Veronica. I think you got this far in your question. Then 11 plus 7 is 17/29. So this is how much he gave away. Okay? So he gave away this much to Sandy, this much to Victor, and together that's 17/29. But he started with 23. And see, this is why, you see, on the GED test you get scratch paper. This is why it's so important to write this stuff down. ID the question, state your path. Now, so the last step, because our question still is how much he had left. Okay, so now you're going to take what he started with, 23, okay, and you're going to take what he gave away, minus 7 29/40, and that's how we're going to find out how much he has left. So we're going to borrow 1 from here, that becomes 22, and the 1, we're going to express it as a fraction. The 1 that we just borrowed, we're going to express it as 40 over 40. Why? Because 40 over 40, or 40 divided by 40 equals 1. So it's just another way of saying 1. So that 1 we borrow is now 40 over 40. 40 minus 29 is 11 40th. 22 minus 17 is 5 and 11 40ths. So that's how much he had left. Okay. Now, I think there was one more question. Excuse me. I'm going to check my email here real quick because David emailed me. Okay, so David had a question on number 5. So let me just erase this. Okay, so the question here is, last week, Mindy ran 3 3/4 of a mile on Tuesday, 5 1/2 miles on Thursday, 7 1/3 miles on Saturday and Sunday. How many miles did she run last week? Okay, so we're going to ID the question. How many miles? How many miles ran is the question. Okay, now we're going to state our path. Okay, 3 1/4 on Tuesday. We're just stating the facts. 5 1/2 on Thursday. And it says 7 1/3 miles on Saturday and Sunday. So 7 1/3 miles on Saturday and 7 1/3 miles on Sunday. Okay? David, I don't know, maybe this is where it caught you. Maybe you didn't catch that it was Saturday and Sunday. It was both 7 1/3 miles. Okay? So now again, all we're doing is adding the fractions, right? So these two we can just add together because they already have the same denominator. So we're going to say 3 1/4 plus 5 1/2, and then 7 7 is 14, and then 1/3 and 1/3 is 2/3. So 14 and 2/3 is just a way to combine those to make our addition to fractions easier. Then we still got to get our lowest common denominator. Okay, so 3, 2, and so the lowest common denominator is going to be 6. 3 goes into 6 2 times 2 is 4. 2 goes into 6 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 4 is 9, 6. Okay, then 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 14 is 22. 22 and 9, 6. Now, 9 6 is an improper fraction, so we have to change that into a mixed number. So 6 goes into 9 one time with a remainder of 3. So the whole number, the answer becomes the whole number. The remainder becomes the numerator, and the denominator does not change. Okay? So now we have, just write that over here clearer, now we have 1 and 3 6. Okay? So that 1 is now a whole number, so that gets added to the 22, so that becomes 23. And then the 3 6 has to be reduced, becomes 1/2, so you have 23 and 1/2 miles that, I forget the name of the character in the word problem, but that she ran that week. Okay? So again, remembering every single time ID the question, state your path. As you're working through the rest of the questions of this book, remember that the book is designed not for you to have a specific video to tell you how to do these problems. It's designed to take the concepts that you've learned and then challenge you with some new problems that you haven't seen, thereby preparing you to, when you actually take the test, you'll be prepared to apply the knowledge that you have in a new situation. Again, this is Damon Tennant, www.mygedlive.com to get your GED Now test preparation series. Thank you.